Have you ever felt like the golden years should be a time of peace and fulfillment, yet find yourself struggling with loneliness, unmet expectations, or toxic relationships? If you've ever wondered how to navigate the challenges that come with aging while preserving your dignity and happiness, you're not alone. In this video, we'll explore 7 essential tips that can transform your later years into a period of wisdom, joy, and self-care. From learning whom to trust and setting healthy boundaries, to embracing change and finding new sources of happiness, these insights are designed to help you live your best life as you age. Stay with us until the end to discover practical strategies that will empower you to protect your emotional well-being, prioritize your own needs, and build a more fulfilling and regret-free future. Whether you're currently experiencing these struggles or looking to prepare for them, this video offers valuable guidance to ensure your golden years truly shine. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. The first tip is, don't blindly trust everyone who comes your way. In the later stages of life, when the days feel a little quieter and the nights a little longer, there's an undeniable longing that begins to build. A longing for connection, for warmth, for meaningful companionship. It's a deeply human desire, especially as we age, to want to feel valued, appreciated, and understood. However, it's precisely in these moments of yearning that we must be most cautious, for not everyone who enters your life in these vulnerable times does so with pure intentions. It's a heartbreaking reality, but one we must face. Some people seek out your vulnerability, your loneliness, like predators sensing weakness, ready to exploit your kindness, trust, and generosity. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how certain individuals, whether they be friends, family, or acquaintances, seem to appear out of nowhere just when you're feeling down or at your weakest? They offer comforting words and a shoulder to lean on, but something feels off. And when you start to regain your strength, your independence, they vanish just as quickly as they arrived, leaving you wondering what they truly wanted. It's a painful pattern to recognize, but these people aren't there for your well-being. No! They come with ulterior motives, often driven by their own selfish needs. Whether it's money, emotional support, favors, or simply the satisfaction of knowing they have control over you. They play on your emotions and your desire to trust, and before you know it, you've opened the door to manipulation and emotional abuse. The betrayal stings. It cuts deep when you realize that someone you thought cared for you was merely using you to fill a void in their own life. Think back to that relative who always seems to need something when you're most vulnerable. Perhaps it's a loan they're asking for, or a favor disguised as a simple request for help. Or that so-called friend who only ever seems to reach out when they need a listening ear, but is nowhere to be found when you need support. Why does this happen? Why do these people gravitate towards your moments of weakness? The answer is simple. They're not drawn to you because they care. They're drawn to what you can offer them in your most fragile state. But here's the truth. Your vulnerability does not make you weak. It makes you human. However, it's essential to protect this vulnerability. It's not about becoming bitter or shutting yourself off from the world, living in constant suspicion of others. No! That's not the answer. It's about learning to discern, to develop a more critical eye when it comes to who you allow into your life. Trust is a beautiful thing, but it's also something that must be earned, not given freely. You have the right to be cautious, to protect yourself, your peace, your stability, and your dignity. You have the right to say no without feeling guilty. Saying no can be one of the most powerful acts of self-preservation you'll ever learn. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. As you grow older, the more vigilant you are, the more you will safeguard your emotional health. Being mindful of who you trust doesn't mean you're becoming cynical or cold. It means you're valuing yourself enough to not let others take advantage of your kindness. Remember, you deserve relationships built on mutual respect and care, not manipulation or control. Do you want to spend your later years free of regret, free from the heartache of being used or manipulated? Do you want to look back and know that you protected yourself and that you valued your emotional well-being above all else? If so, it's time to strike a balance between trust and caution. It's time to ask questions, to not be afraid to challenge the intentions of those who come into your life. Trust people, yes, but never forget to trust yourself first. Your instincts, your intuition, they are there to guide you, and they will if you listen closely enough. The second tip is to stop living to please others, especially your family. This one is tough. It's a truth that sits heavy in the heart because, for so many of us, our lives have been defined by the roles we play for others. As parents, partners, and caregivers, we've spent decades putting the needs and desires of others before our own, sometimes at the expense of our happiness. And as we grow older, that burden doesn't just disappear, it often intensifies. The pressure to continue being everything for everyone, especially family, can feel overwhelming, suffocating even. But here's the truth you may not want to admit to yourself. You don't have to keep living like this. From the moment we enter adulthood, there's an unspoken expectation to live up to others' expectations, to be the perfect parent, the perfect spouse, the reliable sibling, the always available grandparent. We sacrifice, we give, and we bend over backward to ensure the happiness and success of those we love. But what about your happiness? When was the last time you truly put yourself first? When was the last time you pursued something simply because it brought you joy, not because it served someone else's needs? It's a hard habit to break, this constant need to please others. It feels ingrained, like a duty you can't escape. But as you move into the later stages of life, it's more important than ever to recognize that you've done enough. You've given enough. You've sacrificed enough. And now it's time for you to live for yourself. The world won't fall apart if you take a step back. Your children, your grandchildren, your spouse, they will survive without you constantly bending to their will. It's not your responsibility to carry the weight of their happiness on your shoulders, especially at the expense of your well-being. Think about the pressure that's been placed on you. Sometimes it's subtle, like the expectation that you'll always be there to help with the grandkids, or that you'll always be available for every family gathering, no matter how tired you feel. Other times, it's more overt, like the constant demands for financial support or emotional labor. And as the years go by, it can start to feel like you've lost yourself in the process, that your desires and dreams have been pushed aside in favor of keeping the peace, of making sure everyone else is content. But at what cost? What about your happiness? Your desires, your needs, your dreams, they still matter. They matter now more than ever. You've earned the right to live for yourself, to pursue the things that bring you joy without feeling guilty for not living up to others' expectations. It's not selfish to prioritize your well-being. It's necessary. You cannot continue to pour from an empty cup, and the longer you neglect your own needs, the more resentment and exhaustion will build. The truth is, when you constantly live to please others, you lose touch with who you truly are. You become so wrapped up in fulfilling their needs that you forget your own. As you age, this can lead to deep regret. Regret for the life you didn't live, for the dreams you didn't pursue, for the happiness you sacrificed in the name of pleasing others. Imagine a life where you wake up each day and do what you want to do, not what others expect of you. Imagine the freedom of finally releasing yourself from the burden of always saying yes, of always putting others first. Imagine living out the rest of your years on your terms, free from the weight of obligation. Doesn't that sound liberating? Doesn't that sound like peace? It's time to shift the narrative. You don't owe anyone your constant availability. You don't owe anyone your sacrifices. What you owe yourself is freedom. Freedom to live, to breathe, to pursue your happiness. Stop living in the shadow of others' expectations and start embracing the life that's waiting for you. You deserve it. You always have. But here's the controversial truth. That's not a sign of love. It's a prison. Have you ever stopped to reflect on why? Despite your endless giving, despite sacrificing your time, energy, and heart, you still find yourself feeling hollow, dissatisfied, or unfulfilled. It's an unsettling feeling, isn't it? The reality is that no matter how much you give, no matter how selflessly you pour yourself into the needs and demands of others, there will always be more expected of you. The requests never end. The gratitude rarely comes. And while you continue to sacrifice your time, your finances, your dreams, and even your health to please everyone around you, ask yourself this: who is taking care of you? The truth is harsh, but it needs to be said. Many family members see the elderly as an endless well of emotional, financial, or practical support. They become so accustomed to your generosity and your willingness to help that they don't even think twice before asking for more. They take for granted that you'll always be there, that you'll always say yes. And what do you receive in return? More often than not, nothing but ingratitude. You may feel used, unappreciated, and perhaps even invisible to the very people you've sacrificed so much for. And the worst part, they might not even realize what they're doing, because your role as a giver has become so ingrained, so expected. But here's the truth you need to hear. You are in a stage of life where you must, above all else, take care of yourself. This is your time. Time to seek your happiness. Time to finally do the things you always wanted to do, but never had the time or the courage for. This is not selfishness. It is self-preservation. You've spent decades putting others first, and now it's time to put yourself first. You deserve to live these years in peace, doing what makes you happy, fulfilling your dreams, and embracing the freedom you've earned. And here's the most important part. Don't feel guilty about this. Don't let guilt creep in and tell you that prioritizing yourself is wrong, because it's not. It's the most right thing you can do for yourself. You've carried the weight of responsibility for so long, but those invisible chains that have bound you to the needs of others need to be broken. If your family truly loves and respects you, they will understand that you need this time for yourself. And if they don't understand, if they try to make you feel guilty or ashamed for wanting to live for yourself, then that's on them, not you. Your well-being should be your top priority now. Enough is enough. Enough of living for others. Enough of putting your happiness last. You have already given so much of yourself. You have already sacrificed far more than most people ever will. And now it's time to receive. Now it's time to live for you without guilt, without fear, without the pressure to meet anyone else's expectations but your own. The third tip is, don't be afraid to distance yourself from toxic people, even if they are part of your family. This may be one of the hardest truths to accept, but it's also one of the most powerful. As we age, we're often told that family is everything, that we must keep the peace, and that we must hold on to those familial bonds no matter what. But ask yourself, at what cost? At what cost to your own emotional and mental well-being are you keeping toxic relationships in your life? Let's face it, not everyone in your family is good for you. Some people, even those who share your blood, can drain you, hurt you, and bring nothing but negativity into your life. It's a difficult realization because we're taught that family should be sacred and that cutting ties with family members is wrong. But sometimes, those very people are the ones holding you back, keeping you trapped in patterns of emotional abuse, manipulation, and disrespect. Maybe it's that sibling who always criticizes your choices, making you feel small and inadequate. Or perhaps it's a child who constantly demands more of you, never appreciating what you've done, always expecting you to give more while offering nothing in return. Maybe it's a relative who only shows up when they need something, but disappears when you need help. These relationships are emotionally draining, and as you get older, the toll they take on your well-being becomes harder and harder to bear. Here's the painful truth. You are not obligated to keep toxic people in your life just because they're family. Your peace, your happiness, your emotional health, they matter more than maintaining a relationship that only brings you pain. And sometimes, the best thing you can do for yourself is to create distance from those who harm you, even if it means stepping away from family members. This doesn't mean you have to cut them off entirely, though in some cases that may be necessary, but it does mean setting boundaries, protecting your heart, and refusing to let their negativity infiltrate your life. It's not easy. It might be one of the hardest decisions you ever make. But the freedom, the peace of mind, and the emotional relief that comes from removing toxic influences from your life is worth every difficult conversation and every boundary you have to set. You deserve to surround yourself with love, respect, and kindness, not manipulation and emotional abuse. Think about it. What kind of life do you want to live in your later years? Do you want to spend them stressed, drained, and emotionally exhausted from dealing with toxic people? Or do you want to spend them in peace, surrounded by those who truly love and appreciate you? The choice is yours, and it's a choice worth making. As you grow older, the pressure to maintain peace within the family may increase, but at what cost to your well-being? You've spent a lifetime caring for others, but now it's time to care for yourself. Don't be afraid to distance yourself from those who bring you pain, even if they are family. Your peace, your happiness, and your emotional health matter more than anything else. You deserve to live the rest of your life free from the toxicity of others, free to pursue your happiness without fear or guilt. It's time to take that step. How many times have you found yourself enduring abusive behaviors, emotional manipulations, or even outright humiliation simply because society or your conscience tells you that family is everything? How many times have you been made to feel that the bonds of blood are unbreakable, that family must always come first, no matter the cost to your well-being? It's a comforting sentiment in theory, but the brutal truth is that sometimes the greatest act of love and self-respect you can offer yourself is to distance yourself from the very people who hurt you the most. It doesn't matter if it's an ungrateful child who only reaches out when they need something, a grandchild who treats you like convenience, or even a spouse who disrespects and undermines you at every turn. Love does not require you to be a doormat. Your mental and emotional health is worth far more than any blood tie, and you should never be fooled by the misguided notion that old age means accepting mistreatment for the sake of keeping the peace. On the contrary, this stage of your life is meant for seeking peace, cultivating relationships that uplift you, and finding joy in the company of those who genuinely care about your well-being. It's time to reject the idea that you have to swallow the bitter pill of coexistence with people who bring nothing but toxicity into your life. Imagine for a moment the profound positive impact on your life if you begin to set clear boundaries, firmly but lovingly telling those who hurt you that their behavior is no longer acceptable. Imagine distancing yourself from those who have caused you so much pain, not out of spite or anger, but out of a deep, unshakable love for yourself. Picture how free it would be to wake up every day knowing that the people around you are there because they genuinely care for you, not because they want something from you. You've spent decades giving your heart and soul to others, and now it's time to turn that love inward. You no longer have the time or energy to waste on people who drain your spirit or undermine your happiness. Your time is precious. Your emotional health is sacred, and your well-being is non-negotiable. It's time to start valuing your own company, finding peace in solitude if necessary, and surrounding yourself only with those who add value to your life. Remember this: your well-being is your responsibility. No one else can protect your heart, your mind, or your soul as fiercely as you can. And no one has the right to keep you trapped in a toxic relationship, no matter who they are. Whether it's a child, a grandchild, a sibling, or even a spouse. If they don't respect you, if they constantly take from you without giving anything in return, then it's time to step away. Your peace is priceless, and it's time to claim it. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment too below to let me know that you are still here with me. The fourth tip is to stop waiting for others to recognize your sacrifices. This is a bitter but essential truth if you want to find inner peace. Throughout your life, how many sacrifices have you made for the people you love? How often have you put your own needs on hold? Sometimes for years, for the sake of your children, your spouse, and your friends. You've likely done it believing that one day they would realize the depth of your love and your sacrifice, that they would look back and understand just how much you gave up for them. Perhaps you've waited for words of gratitude, for acknowledgement, for that moment when they finally say, "I see how much you've done for me and I appreciate it." But here's the reality check. Many times, that recognition never comes. It's a harsh truth, but one that you need to confront if you want to free yourself from the pain of unmet expectations. The longer you hold on to the hope that others will eventually recognize your sacrifices, the more likely you are to end up disappointed, resentful, and bitter. And that resentment, it's like a slow poison. It corrodes your soul, eating away at your happiness and peace of mind, until you're left feeling empty and unappreciated, despite all the love and effort you've given over the years. The truth is, some people will never truly understand the magnitude of your sacrifices. They may never see the late nights you stayed up worrying, the countless hours you spent working to provide for them, the dreams you set aside to make their lives easier. And that's not your fault. It's not a reflection of your worth or the value of what you've done. It's simply a reflection of where they are in their own lives. Perhaps they're too caught up in their struggles to see what you've done, or perhaps they're just not capable of that kind of recognition. Either way, you cannot control their response. What you can control is how you choose to move forward. You can choose to stop waiting for validation from others, to stop holding out for the gratitude that may never come. Instead, you can start finding validation within yourself. You know what you've done. You know the sacrifices you've made, and that knowledge alone should be enough. You don't need anyone else to tell you that your efforts were worthwhile. You don't need anyone else's acknowledgement to validate the love and care you've poured into your relationships. When you let go of the need for external recognition, you free yourself from the chains of disappointment. You stop looking to others for your sense of worth, and you start realizing that your value has never been tied to their acknowledgement. Your worth comes from within. It comes from the love you've given, the sacrifices you've made, and the person you become as a result of those choices. Imagine how much lighter you will feel when you release the expectation of gratitude. Imagine the peace that will flood your heart when you stop waiting for others to see you and instead start seeing yourself. Seeing the incredible strength, resilience, and love that you've carried with you throughout your life. You are enough, just as you are, and no one else's validation can add to or take away from that. So stop waiting. Stop holding your breath for the recognition that may never come. Stop sacrificing your peace for the hope that one day they'll see how much you've done for them. You've already done enough. You've already given more than enough. And now it's time to start giving to yourself. Start recognizing your sacrifices. Start appreciating your worth. Because at the end of the day, the only recognition you truly need is your own. Have you ever found yourself reflecting on all the things you've done for others? Those moments when you went above and beyond, gave your time, your energy, your love, hoping that at the very least, someone would acknowledge your effort with a simple, heartfelt thank you. And yet, how many times has that gratitude never arrived? The truth is that waiting for recognition places you in a vulnerable position, a place where your sense of happiness and self-worth becomes dependent on the actions or words of others. And when that appreciation doesn't come, the disappointment starts to grow, like a seed of bitterness taking root in your heart, slowly blossoming into resentment. What you need to understand is this: the value of your sacrifices doesn't diminish simply because they go unrecognized. The efforts you've made, the love you've given, the things you've sacrificed, they are a reflection of who you are, not a reflection of how others respond to you. Your generosity, your selflessness, and your deep well of love are part of your character, part of the legacy you've built throughout your life. And yet, to find true peace, you must learn to free yourself from the need for external validation. Your life cannot revolve around the approval or acknowledgement of others, especially not at this stage of your life when time is too precious to waste. The hard reality is that you might never receive the recognition you hope for. People may never fully understand or appreciate the sacrifices you've made for them, but that doesn't mean those sacrifices were in vain. It simply means it's time to shift your focus inward, to learn how to validate yourself and find contentment within. By holding on to the hope that one day people will realize all you've done, you remain chained to their expectations, and those chains are invisible but heavy, keeping you from living freely. Think about it. How many years have you spent waiting for others to see your worth, to acknowledge all the ways you've helped, loved, and supported them? And what has that waiting cost you? Your peace? Your happiness? Your sense of self-worth? Accepting that recognition may never come doesn't mean you've wasted your time or your love. It doesn't mean that what you've done for others is meaningless. It means you are choosing to live more freely, without the burden of waiting for something that may never happen. It means you are deciding to live for yourself, to be proud of the person you are, and to understand that your value has never depended on someone else's acknowledgement. That power, the power to feel valuable, to know your worth, has always been within you. You just have to claim it. The fifth tip is to stop using your age as an excuse not to change. This is a tough one, a harsh truth that many find difficult to accept, but it's crucial if you want to live a life of growth and fulfillment. How many times have you heard or even said the words, "I'm too old for that"? Whether it's in the context of learning something new, breaking harmful habits, embracing new experiences, or even allowing yourself to be happy in a different way, age has often been used as a justification for staying stuck. We tell ourselves, "I've been doing things this way for so long. Why change now?" But what if that's exactly what's holding you back? Age is not a barrier unless you allow it to be. The notion that we stop growing, stop learning, or stop evolving simply because we've reached a certain number on the calendar is a myth. Yes, the body may change and physical limitations may arise, but the mind, the heart, and the spirit are always capable of transformation. And yet, we often use age as a shield, a convenient excuse to avoid discomfort, to sidestep the hard work of growth and change. Think about all the things you've said you're too old for. Maybe you've told yourself you're too old to start exercising, or too old to learn how to use technology. Maybe you've convinced yourself that at your age, it's too late to explore new hobbies or meet new people. Or maybe you've resigned yourself to certain bad habits, telling yourself, "I'm too set in my ways to change now." But here's the truth. These are just stories we tell ourselves to stay comfortable. Comfort, while soothing in the short term, can lead to stagnation in the long run. Imagine what your life could look like if you stopped believing these stories. What if you embraced change, no matter your age? What if you allowed yourself the freedom to grow, evolve, pursue new passions, and let go of old habits that no longer serve you? What if you realized that every day you wake up is another chance to redefine yourself, regardless of how many years you've lived? It's easy to get stuck in the routines we've built over the years, to fall into the trap of thinking that change is something for the young. But here's the truth. Change is for anyone who dares to pursue it. It doesn't matter if you're 20, 50, or 80. The human spirit is resilient and capable of incredible growth at any age. The only real barrier to change is the belief that it's no longer possible for you. So, stop using your age as an excuse. Stop telling yourself that certain things are beyond your reach simply because you've been on this earth a little longer. You are never too old to grow. You are never too old to learn, to break free from old patterns, to find new ways of being happy, fulfilled, and at peace with yourself. Imagine the life you could lead if you let go of the limitations you've placed on yourself. What new experiences would you pursue? What harmful habits would you break? What new joys could you discover? The only thing standing in your way is your belief that it's too late. But it's never too late. Not for you, not for anyone. Embrace the fact that change is always possible and that each day brings with it the opportunity to become a little better, a little wiser, and a little more at peace with the person you are becoming. Age is just a number. Don't let it define what you're capable of. But the reality is, as long as you're alive, there's still time to change. So many people fall into the trap of believing that after a certain age, whether it's 60, 70, or 80, there's no room for deep, meaningful transformation, whether in the way you think, behave, or live. It's a pervasive and dangerous myth, one that quietly whispers that old age is a time of resignation rather than renewal. This idea is not only limiting, it's soul-crushing. It locks you into a mindset that the best of your life is behind you, that you've missed the boat on any real change. But that couldn't be further from the truth. Your senior years can be the most powerful time for change because you possess something that the young do not: wisdom born from decades of experience. Think about it. Every challenge you've overcome, every mistake you've learned from, and every joy you've cherished has equipped you with insight that young people can't yet fathom. But here's the key. That wisdom is only useful if you dare to apply it. Imagine, just for a moment, how many opportunities you may have missed because you bought into the lie that it was too late. How many dreams were quietly packed away. How many adventures were left unlived. How many loves were not pursued. All because you convinced yourself that those things were no longer for you, that they were reserved for the younger generation. But what if that's not true? What if the only thing truly standing in your way is the belief that time has run out? Here's the controversial truth that few dare to say. Age is an advantage. It gives you a perspective that only time can offer. You see the world differently now than you did at 20 or 30, and that's a gift. You have the clarity to know what matters and what doesn't, to know what's worth fighting for and what's worth letting go. And that kind of perspective, it's priceless. It doesn't matter if you're 60, 70, or even 90 years old. If there's something you want to change in your life, the only true obstacle is yourself. Yes, it's uncomfortable to admit that, but it's also liberating because it means that you hold the power to change. You are not at the mercy of time, but rather, you are the master of it. Instead of viewing your age as a barrier, look at it as a launching platform. As long as you breathe, there is potential for transformation, and that change, whatever form it takes, can give your life new meaning, new flavor, new purpose. The real limitation is not in the number of years you've lived, but in the confines of your mind. The sixth tip is, don't cling to the past as if it were your only refuge. Nostalgia can be a powerful companion in old age, a comforting reminder of the life you've lived, the moments you've cherished, and the people who have touched your heart. In moderation, it's a beautiful thing. Those memories are part of your story after all. But there's a fine line between appreciating the past and living in it. When you start to dwell more in the days gone by than in the present moment, you risk becoming a prisoner to memories that, while valuable, shouldn't define your current life. How often do you find yourself saying, "In my day, it was better," or "I was happier before"? It's tempting, isn't it? Nostalgia wraps you in a comforting blanket, lulling you into the belief that the best moments of your life have already happened. But that kind of thinking, seductive as it may be, can become a trap. It can blind you to the beauty, the opportunities, and the joys that still exist right in front of you. The truth is, by clinging too tightly to the past, you risk closing your eyes to the present. And the present, with all its imperfections and challenges, is the most real and tangible thing you have. The past is a collection of memories, moments frozen in time. It's valuable, yes, but it's unchangeable. The present, however, is alive with possibility. Every day offers a new chance to create something meaningful, to experience joy, to connect with others, and to live fully. But if your heart and mind are stuck in the past, how can you fully embrace what's happening around you right now? Think about it. How many opportunities might you have missed because you were too busy reminiscing about how things used to be? How many moments of potential joy or connection passed you by because you were wrapped up in memories of better days? The present may not be perfect, but it's yours. It's the here and now, the only time when life happens. The past is gone, the future is uncertain, but today is where your life unfolds. The danger of living too much in the past is that it can rob you of your ability to find happiness in the present. You might look at the world around you and think, it's not like it used to be, but that doesn't mean it's not worth embracing. The people around you today, the opportunities that exist now, the experiences you can still have, they're just as valuable as anything that happened years ago. But to appreciate them, you have to be present. You have to let go of the idea that your best days are behind you, and instead, open yourself up to the possibility that some of your most meaningful moments are still ahead. Living in the past may feel comforting in the short term, but it ultimately limits your ability to grow, evolve, and live fully in the present. And the present is all we truly have. So don't let nostalgia chain you to a life of missed opportunities. Honor your memories and cherish them, but don't let them define you. You are still here, still capable of creating new memories, experiencing new joys, and living a life that's vibrant, meaningful, and full of purpose right now. If you spend too much time lamenting what has already been, you risk missing out on the beauty and potential of what could still be, and that's a waste of the precious time you have left. Life is a series of cycles, each one bringing its lessons, joys, and challenges. What you experienced in the past undoubtedly had value. It shaped you, taught you, and brought you to where you are today. But now it's time to create new memories, discover new joys, and reinvent yourself. You are not just a product of your memories. You are also defined by what you choose to do with the time still in front of you. As tempting as it is to dwell on the good moments of the past, it's important to recognize that they've already served their purpose. Those days, however wonderful, have come and gone. The challenge now is to find meaning, satisfaction, and even excitement in the present. Life continues to offer opportunities for joy, growth, and fulfillment, but only if you're open to them. Don't allow your longing for what once was to blind you to what can still be. There are still surprises in store, new experiences to be had, and moments that could fill your heart with joy. The choice is yours. Will you open your eyes to them, or remain trapped in the nostalgia of what has already happened? The seventh tip is, don't masturbate every day. This is a topic that many shy away from discussing, especially in older age, but it needs to be addressed with honesty and care. Masturbation, when practiced in moderation, is a natural and healthy activity. It can be a way to explore your body, relieve stress, and experience pleasure. However, when it becomes a daily or compulsive habit, it often signals something deeper, perhaps an attempt to escape from difficult emotions, loneliness, or dissatisfaction with life. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. As we grow older, the emotional and physical aspects of sexuality may shift, but they remain an important part of our well-being. Yet, excessive masturbation can have negative impacts on both physical and mental health in old age. Have you ever stopped to ask yourself why you feel the need to engage in this behavior every day? Often, it's not about the physical desire alone. It can be a way to fill an emotional void, to alleviate feelings of isolation, frustration, or even boredom. And while it may provide temporary relief, it can easily become a vicious cycle where immediate gratification takes the place of pursuing more meaningful and fulfilling connections. When masturbation becomes a daily habit, it can hinder your emotional growth. Instead of confronting the deeper feelings of loneliness or dissatisfaction, it acts as a quick fix, offering fleeting pleasure but leaving you with the same underlying issues. Over time, it may even prevent you from seeking out other forms of intimacy, whether emotional or physical. The key here is balance. Ask yourself, is this a healthy part of my life, or am I using it as a way to avoid facing deeper emotions? In moderation, masturbation can be part of a fulfilling life, even in old age. But when it becomes excessive, it's important to recognize the reasons behind it and seek out healthier, more balanced ways to address those needs. Whether it's engaging in more social activities, forming new relationships, or simply finding hobbies that bring joy, there are many ways to enrich your life beyond the immediate gratification of physical pleasure. By acknowledging this habit and reflecting on its impact, you open the door to exploring more meaningful connections with yourself and with others. After all, life is about balance, and by finding that balance, you allow yourself to experience deeper satisfaction, emotional connection, and fulfillment beyond the momentary. The truth is that as we age, it becomes even more important to pay attention to balance in every aspect of life. Habits that might have seemed harmless or even helpful in the past can, over time, start to have unintended consequences. Daily masturbation, for example, while often considered a natural activity, can slowly drain your energy, foster a sense of isolation, and in some cases, even interfere with your ability to maintain intimate relationships. This is not just about physical effects. It's about the emotional toll that can come from relying too heavily on one form of pleasure. instead of seeking comfort or satisfaction exclusively through that one outlet. Why not explore other ways to meet your emotional and physical needs? Consider activities like taking a walk in nature, reading a thought-provoking book, or immersing yourself in a hobby that brings you joy. Even something as simple as having meaningful conversations with friends can provide a deeper sense of connection and fulfillment, bringing lasting satisfaction without the potential negative side effects of a compulsive habit. The key to maintaining a healthy lifestyle in old age is moderation. By reducing the frequency of certain habits like masturbation, you allow yourself to discover new forms of pleasure and well-being, ones that nourish both your body and your soul. It's not about eliminating anything, but rather ensuring that each part of your life contributes positively to your overall balance and happiness. Masturbation, like any other habit, should be enjoyed as part of a holistic approach to well-being, not used as a means of escaping from deeper emotions or challenges. Now that you've absorbed these 7 tough but vital tips for navigating old age, it's time to take a moment to reflect on how you can apply them in your own life. Aging is an inevitable part of the human experience, but living with wisdom, dignity, and fulfillment is a choice. Don't let yourself be confined by old patterns, limiting beliefs, or fears of the unknown. Instead, embrace the changes that come with each new stage of life. Protect your peace, prioritize your health and happiness, and most importantly, live according to your own rules. The secret to a truly fulfilling life in old age lies in your ability to adapt, remain open to new experiences, and cherish each moment as it comes. By balancing your habits, guarding your emotional well-being, and making thoughtful choices, you can ensure that your later years are not just spent passively, but lived with intention, joy, and personal empowerment. As we come to the end of this important discussion, I'd like to take a moment to ask you, what have you learned so far? Reflect on these 7 tips and think about how they apply to your own life. What is one thing you've learned from this video that you will bring into practice in your daily life? Whether it's embracing change, letting go of past habits, or finding balance in all areas of life, we'd love to hear your thoughts. Please share your insights in the comments below. Your experiences and reflections could inspire others on their journey as well. And if you found value in this video, don't forget to show your support. If you like this video, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Your engagement helps us create more meaningful content, and we appreciate every one of you for being part of this community. Thank you for watching, and here's to living with wisdom, balance, and fulfillment at every stage of life.